we all think we are communicating, but actually we are not communicating. Social media does not give you the answer key to how you should communicate. They only teach you to say communication is key to relationships. And then full stop. So people might think that they are already communicating, but the fact is you have not been communicating. You have been quiet all along and you expect people to read your mind. So this year I've been thinking to myself, I've been asking about the why in certain things. So you communicate because you want to deliver a message. You want to deliver something you feel to the other party. So before you communicate, you should ask yourself why you feel a certain way. And many of us don't communicate it across and we choose to keep quiet, we choose to suppress. It's because we don't know how to communicate in a way. We have that underlying fear that people are going to judge us. People are going to give us the death sentence. Like, you are doing this. That's why you feel this way. Oh, you're just a pessimist. You're just an overthinker. That's why you feel this way. Because normally, if you are normal, you shouldn't be feeling that way. So this fear that we build may be from trauma from young, from not being feeling understood enough, or we try to communicate when we're young and, I guess it all starts from somewhere. For example, if I feel that I'm really good at communicating, for example, but then since young, when I try to communicate with my parents, I feel shut down because before I can even speak about how I feel, they would tell me, I don't want to hear it. So I feel like there's a lot of patterns that stems from young that shape us to who we are today, which is why everyone is so different individually and which is why everyone is built differently from who we are, correct? Which is what makes you special, and embrace that. But at the same time, if you want to improve your life, you have to go and understand why you are communicating the way you communicate and how you can communicate better. So I talked to my therapist previously, and then he was like, I was facing some personal issues and I wanted the relationships around me to improve. So he was like, if you want to improve the relationships around you, the recipe is to improve yourself first. Which is true. You can't change the people around you, but you can change yourself and the way you perceive things. Because as someone that is a self-proclaimed pessimist, in fact, if you have different advice from me or you beg to differ, leave it down in the comment section. Let me know how you feel, and I would love to also have a discussion because I'm opening this podcast not even knowing what am I doing in my life and giving like unsolicited advice that I think works for me. So if you think it doesn't work for you, let me know otherwise. So yes, as I was saying, if you can't change what others think, fix yourself first. In a way where there's a lot of self-realization this year. And this year, it's February now. It's only the second month of the year, and I've been doing a lot of inner work and self-realization because recently I have a friendship that I feel that did not resonate with me anymore. And then I realized that actually she did not want to be friends with me a while ago. And it was because of, I guess, different personalities that clash. And from my point of view, I felt like she was unable to communicate her feelings. I validate that because maybe you have the fear of communication, and that's what a lot of people think. So from this example that I can refer is more of like, usually as friends, you would say stuff like, oh babe, if you have anything to talk about, please let me know how you feel. We can always communicate. We can always talk things out as friends. And that's how I always phrase my friendships at the start. Like, I never think that I would want my friendship to crash and burn that way, but it somehow did. And it was because of the lack of communication, I feel. On my end, I was saying like, hey, is anything wrong? Did I do anything to upset you? Could I have done anything better? Let me know. I do see that you're feeling distant. And on the other hand, she was like, no, it's okay, it's fine, don't worry about it, like all's okay. But we clearly know everything's not okay because energy is so contagious. If I don't like someone, you will feel it. If someone doesn't like you, you will feel it in your gut. For example, there's this girl that I feel like she does not like me from the start of a friendship. She was just like a mutual between like our friend group. And true enough, I found out that she doesn't like me actually. So she does not even have to say anything. Energy is felt and energy is just so contagious. Maybe I'm just sensitive. I'm a very sensitive person. I'm very sensitive to emotions. I'm very sensitive to facial expressions, tonality, posture. I'm so sensitive to the point that if you don't like me or if you feel a certain way about me, I'm able to feel the difference, you see. So back to where I was saying, the friendship ended because she was not able to communicate with me her feelings, and I only found out through like another friend of ours, like the reasons why the friendship failed and how she felt. Which to me, if she communicated to me back then, I would love to sit down and talk to her. Personally, I don't think I am not a reflective person. I think I'm a very reflective person, and I think that, I'm always open for discussion. If anyone has anything to say, like, hey, let's sit down and talk, I would love to. But then now let's switch it around and do the inner work of me. So the thing is, for me, I love to communicate to people how I feel. But sometimes I am so scared of how the other person feels if I were to say this thing. I kind of like, gaslight myself into thinking that, maybe it wasn't such an important thing to talk about in the first place. So I will just keep quiet about it, and I will just let it fester and fester and fester until I'm like, okay, I'm about to explode. It's time to communicate. And when I open my mouth, I feel like I come from such a negative light. And because I'm an angry person, I feel like I'm about to explode to the point that, yes, a quarrel would happen. Like, we would just get angry because I'll be like, you've been doing this all along and actually I don't like it. I hate that you do this and that and this and that. And then the person will be like, wait, why are you having an assumption on me? Like, I didn't even know you did not like it in the first place. So this is my issue. So although I say like, yeah, just communicate, I understand how hard it is to communicate. It really is hard. Because sometimes when I were to explain myself to someone, you are unable to explain it in a way that they will understand. Everyone understands things differently, and it's not somewhere where you're able to make them understand it the way you do. And that's why we're different people. There are circumstances where I explain myself to, let's say, my mom. She just doesn't get it because people have different perspective of things. And let's say today you overreact over something, and then you explain to me why you overreact. You might say like, oh, I might have a trauma from young and that's why I react this way. From my perspective, because I did not go through what you went through, I would be like, the hell? Like, still, it did not warrant you to react that way. So you see, we're all so different to the point that I just came to this conclusion of mine. I am rather an intensive person, and I would say that I'm trying to tone it down, of course. A lot of inner work, but also at the same time, you have to accept that if someone does not understand where you're coming from, and if your intention is good, and they just assume that you have very bad intentions, or they just assume that what you did was not valid, and they continue to invalidate you despite you trying to explain or like fix the relationship, then you have to apply the let them theory, which is to just let them be, Like, you really just have to let them go. If they don't want to understand you, if they don't want to take the time to understand the deepness you have, then forget it. Because if you were to try to mold yourself into their level of understanding, you are not able to be yourself. And this is where I go into the topic of having no self-trust. Because I understand for myself, right? I need to communicate to someone when I feel uncertain about a way I act. For example, if I was mad about a certain thing another friend did, I need another friend to come and validate me and understand, like, I felt really angry that she did this. Do you think it was right of me? I feel like I still lack the amount of self-trust to understand why am I upset over a certain thing. Because if I had enough self-trust, or I would say maybe this translates to security, I would be able to discern whether I was right to be angry or not, if you get what I mean. So I feel like a lot of inner work has to be done in a way where we ask ourselves, Do we trust ourselves enough to understand that what we are feeling is okay? And this is how we feel because of things we went through in the past. Like we learn to validate ourselves instead of seeking validation from other people about a certain way we act. And when we're able to validate how we feel on the inner side, we are able to also communicate our feelings better. Which is why I always learn how to ask myself why. It's not why I'm angry, but you have to go down to the further layers of things. Why am I so angry? Okay, so I know why am I so angry, and then I keep asking myself why until I find the root of it. Oh, maybe growing up I was unable to communicate because I was not able to communicate comfortably, which is why I have to, kind of get angry first before I learn how to communicate. Because when I get angry, I get someone's attention, and when I get someone's attention of things, this is why they will listen. So you really gotta get to the inner side of things to understand why you act a certain way. So yes, so this is like kind of a self-discovery thing I did recently, which is why I realized I've been more direct with people. Like if I'm upset, I'll just let you know, like, hey, I'm upset because you did a certain thing. And if the person is able to understand, I'm glad I found my person in my inner circle. I'm glad I found someone that's able to communicate with me. And this is gonna be even more golden because these are the people that will be permanent in my life. They understand me, they grow with me, they communicate with me, they tell me how I feel, they validate my feelings because they understand where I'm coming from, because they have compassion, which is something more important than empathy, I feel, which is great. So yeah. It is after the recent friendship that kind of crashed and burned that I realized that we weren't communicating. That made me understand that you need to vibe with people that are able to understand you. Because you can try. I remember for the longest time for that friendship, I really tried so hard. Even when I felt that she was kind of distancing herself away from me, I did a lot of inner work. I was realizing that maybe I was trauma dumping too much on her. Maybe I wasn't being a good friend. I have to step up. I have to be there for her more. I have to, do more acts of service as a friend. But when I was doing more, I felt that I was building up a lot more anger because she was not telling me how she felt and why she was this way, where she claimed that things were okay, but evidently she was telling other people that, she doesn't want to be my friend anymore because she feels that, I have no EQ or stuff like that. So I was just like, damn, you could have fucking told me. If you did, I would love to sit down to talk and fix the friendship. But of course, things happen after, and the rest is history. So it's really just, not everyone is meant to be in your life. Even if you want them to be permanent, some of them are just here to let you understand that, not everyone is here to be permanent in your life. Not everyone has to like you. Not everyone has to understand you. Because those who really understand you are the ones that are going to be permanent and important in your life. Yeah. So I would say don't rely on social media too much. And don't rely on this podcast for answers, because as much as you're doing the inner work, I'm also doing a lot of inner work myself into self-realizing what is good for me. So yeah, don't trust social media too much on things. Don't rely on them for advice. Don't rely on AI for the best advice. Always trust yourself. And I feel like once you have enough self-trust, once you have enough security, you'll be so much more confident in your decisions. You will have better discernment. You will understand yourself a lot better on why you react a certain way. You'll be able to have more self-control in your emotions. Sorry, the notifications are going off. I should mute it next time for the next podcast. But yeah, so since this is the first podcast, if you'd like me to talk about any other topics, just let me know, comment down below. There is not much editing in this because it's gonna be really raw, and I'm gonna start, learning how to verbalize myself through this and learn together with you guys. And that's why this podcast is called Against My Will, because honestly, learning is so tough and learning is growing up. And honestly, I don't really want to grow up. And learning this bell curve and understanding the inner work, and as someone that is so stubborn, being able to understand yourself and admitting that you're wrong is the heaviest inner work that you have to do yourself, which is why this podcast is called Against My Will, and this is the first episode, which is Mastering Communication Against My Will. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next one.